The high cost of school uniforms have been a cause for concern for many years now. But the Basic Education Department says the scrapping of uniforms is just not an option. The Latita Development Trust says the corporate sector can help. Let's speak now to the CEO, Asanda Madikane, who joins us from the Eastern Cape. Asanda, thank you so much for joining us this morning. My colleague Gareth and I were just saying that it just seems every year we continue to have this discussion about the rising cost of school uniforms, a burden that's even more difficult for so many families to bear this year as a result of the financial strain that's come along with the COVID-19 pandemic. What is the Latita Development Trust's take on this? How can we get around this high cost of school uniforms, and how can we alleviate the burden being carried by so many families?
Yes, good morning to you, good morning to your viewers, and thank you very much for having me. Now, the school uniforms for a very long time has been an issue, and the prices have been going up to a point that parents are not really able to afford, but no one would ever tell because they don't know where to go. Now, what Latita Development Trust actually thought is that maybe we should go back to basics. Maybe we need to cut the value chain, because what happens is that the school gets the uniform from the retailers from the manufacturers, and so on. So by the time it gets to the parent, the price is too high. So if only the SGB would be now used to go look for the places where we can get the uniforms cheaper. There are manufacturers in South Africa, and we could control now the issue of pricing by approaching directly the manufacturers to say, let's fix the prices. Let's drop the prices. 60% of our school learners, at least at the public schools, are dependent on grants and are supported by people who are actually dependent on grants themselves. So one wonders how an older person can actually afford, from the rural areas, can afford to pay about 5,000 to 7,000, and it happens within the space of 2 months. If you look at it, the school uniform does not get marketed or advertised early in the years, as you would not buy the school uniform for a child, 6 months before. But at the time, no one tells what the price is. You get to hear it at the counter, which is something that has been going on for a long time.
Now, Asanda, you speak specifically there about children living in rural areas. Your organization quoted a report that showed that more than twice as many children living in rural areas face multidimensional poverty compared to children in urban areas. We also know that during lockdown, we spoke repeatedly to organizations trying to ensure that school feeding schemes were continuing even during lockdown. As such is the issue of poverty that's affecting our children, millions of children across South Africa. But the problem in the rural areas is one of access. Now, you have interacted with the manufacturers to keep the prices at a certain level, but people living in rural areas don't perhaps have the opportunity to have direct access to those prices at manufacturers. They depend on distributors and other retailers who get the product, the uniforms, from the manufacturers and make it easy for them to buy, and that's where the markup comes. How can we get around that issue?
Thank you very much. In every school, we have a school governing body. It's a responsibility of a school governing body to assist the schools. Parents should actually get these prices or this price issue from the school governing body. So if only we had well-utilized and effective school SGBs, then we would get around this issue.
And where does is this not where the Basic Education Department could step in? What are you hearing from them?
Well, it's difficult to regulate. It's difficult for education to regulate the uniform prices. Remember, it's parents who buys directly from, well, the retailers or, you know, the manufacturers. So it's not easy. That area is not regulated. But education could only assist, you know, in giving guidance to the SGPs, where SGPs will themselves actually go and approach these manufacturers.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. The CEO of the Latita Development Trust, Asanda Madikane, a very important issue. Many families sitting right now probably thinking, how can they get around ensuring that their kids have the uniforms that they need? So you don't want to send kids to school without what they need, because we all know how difficult that can be from a social point of view as well.